Hello and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. I am Cody and we're here today with Jordan.
What up?
We're going to be covering a few topics. We're going to talk a little bit about someone I don't really like talking about, AOC. I don't like giving her more attention than she deserves, but I thought this was an interesting story. We're also going to talk a little bit about that conservative who got UC.
Hello?
Hello. Apparently, I lost connection, but we appear to be back, as far as I can tell. Let's see if Jordan is here. Jordan. Oh, I don't see Jordan. Hold on. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
You're back. I guess
Yep.
I lost connection.
Oh,
Sorry
did
about
you?
that, everyone. Yeah, that's what it said.
Oh, it was you that lost connection. That's weird. All right. I'm surprised the room
Yeah.
stayed open. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay. All right.
Minor
Technical
technical
difficulties.
difficulties. No
Right
more
at the fucking start,
technical.
of course.
Yeah. Oh, well. Hopefully people are
Oh, and
still
some
joining.
exciting news. We almost.
Yes, hopefully
It's going
next
to be
week
fucking
we will
fantastic.
have a little bit of an upgrade for you guys too. So
When we move into like OBS, we're going to have a fucking overlay. It's going to be sweet.
yeah, I don't want to promise too much, but we'll
Oh, I'm
at least
promising
have a
everything.
little more visual effects
I'm
going on.
promising the world here.
All right,
Promising the whole
so
goddamn world.
we're going to talk first about AOC, everyone's favorite fresh-faced politician.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben Shapiro he's always says fresh face, so much fresh, so much face. When he talks about like AOC or
Ilhan
Ilhan,
Omar.
yeah, the anti-Semitic people in the Democratic Party, you know.
Yeah.
So it kind of this story's kind of been percolating for a little bit, but it kind of all came out this week that she is potentially facing jail time. Now I doubt she will, and I don't think that's necessarily something that I would want politically, just because I think it would just give her more attention than she actually deserves. But I do think that this stuff people need to know what's going on. So her chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarty, I think I said that right, probably not.
I think so.
He illegally moved $858,000 off the books, according to an FEC complaint, and that's the Federal Election Committee that oversees campaign contributions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of convoluted, which is probably why they did it this way, so people couldn't figure it out. But people that do this shit for a living figured it out. Pretty much what happened is that Chakrabarty set up Brand New Congress LLC and Brand New Campaign LLC. And AOC's PAC, which was the Justice Democrats, was giving money to them for strategic consulting. And so this is very vague. This is apparently a tactic used so that they can spend money and not have to report it to campaign finance.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Regulations, whatever. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the governor of the Justice Democrat PAC, meaning she's directly running the PAC that was funneling the money to these LLCs. And at the minimum, they're going to face fines and potentially jail time. So I have some quotes from people who know about this stuff way more than I do, because I am not up to speed on campaign laws or any of that stuff. But Tom Anderson, who's the director of the NLCP Government Integrity Project, he said that, quote, "These are not minor or technical violations. We're talking about real money here. In all my years of studying FEC reports, I've never seen a more ambitious operation to circumvent reporting requirements. Representative Ocasio-Cortez has been quite vocal in condemning so-called dark money, but her own campaign went to great lengths to avoid the sunlight of disclosure." Then he added, "I believe their cause is so great that they don't have to play by the rules. They believe that they're above campaign finance laws," which totally plays into her personality and kind of how she acts all the time.
I'd be very surprised if she magically turned into a little brat when she got to walk. Now she's always been the whole way her own. I don't think she needs to go. Campaign finance in a lot of ways is it's really just to make sure everyone knows where the money's coming and going from to prevent corruption. So any individual case to me isn't that big a deal. It's more of like if it's a pattern, it's a whole. But I mean, it does also say that, if someone's going to be anti-PAC, dark money, anti all these things, then she's doing it. Her constituents should know that.
Right. Yeah, it's just she's so against she's against capitalism, so but then she's got like 2 LLCs
that she's like shuffling money back and forth from to disguise where it's coming and going to.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was a former FEC Associate General Counsel, Adav Noti, and he currently directs the Campaign Legal Center, and he told Fox News that it was a total mystery, quote, to him, why he had established an LLC seemingly to make money from the PAC rather than simply creating a normal venture like a consulting business to provide services for candidates on the books. So he could have, if he just created he could have just created a regular consulting business, and they could have paid him to consult that way. But the use of an LLC, yeah.
Well, no, I was just going to say that it seems like there's basically obvious answers to what's happening. Either they're incompetent, which surprised that AOC is incompetent. Like, really? Really. Or B, this was like some larger plan for something in the future, and this was more of a test run. Because, like you said, the FEC guy was basically saying this is the at least one of the more ambitious operations he'd seen in a while.
Yeah.
To me, that if it was something simplistic that could be done some other way, I don't think it would be particularly ambitious. Maybe I'm reading too much into his comments. Because it's not like I've been able to sit down and look at the details of what exactly she did. But I'm just trusting that this guy is genuinely impressed, effectively, by the scope of what's going on, which makes it sound like it's not like an incompetency thing. It makes it sound like this was an intentional thing where they knew that they were evading campaign finance law, and they were doing it for a specific reason. I don't know what that reason is, but it is concerning that there seems to be some reason she's doing this.
Right, and Noti, the FEC, the former FEC Associate General Counsel, he said that doing this sort of thing to set up an LLC, when you have something like this, that an LLC is so clearly affiliated with a PAC, it's often because it's a scam PAC, that they're just funneling money for financial benefit as opposed to engaging in political activity.
So we're thinking this is more along the lines of she was just trying to slush it around like a Hillary Clinton style thing to her own pockets at some point.
Maybe. I think she might be. I think she's trying to. I don't know what she's trying to do. Honestly, I have no idea. I thought I read somewhere where it said that she was trying. She wanted to do that so she could funnel money to other progressive candidates.
I mean, maybe, but the Justice Democrats already have a PAC.
Right. I don't know why she would need to funnel it through an LLC to do that. That's
I mean, that's what I'm that's what I'm thinking along the lines of. Even if she wanted to do that, surely it would be easier just to overpay the guy as a consultant, and or like even if it's just a little bit, then just like funnel it that way over time.
Right.
Because I mean, this entire system isn't like an instant transfer from her fucking bank account into some other thing. There's like a process where it has to go through all these things so that it's like supposedly going through loopholes, which she apparently did a bad job of. But that's how that's supposed to work.
Well, yeah, it
takes time, is what I'm saying.
This isn't the first sort of. I mean, are we all really surprised that a communist is shady with money? Come on. But this isn't the
first. No way.
This isn't the only area where she's done like obviously shady stuff with finances.
Yeah.
So there's two more examples, but the first one is that she announced she'd only pay her staffers $52,000 a year minimum to $80,000 a year max. And typically, like chiefs of staff in those positions make like a six-figure salary.
Right.
But this is so if they make more than $126,000 a year, then they have to file detailed forms outlining all of their outside income, including investments and gifts. And by paying them the lower amount, they don't have to report any of that stuff.
That's not shady at all.
No, and I forget his name, Anderson, Tom Anderson, the watchdog guy. He said that this is an old trick by some of the most corrupt members of Congress, and it's been used time and again. So apparently that's nothing new. Like people have done that in order to hide money and donations and stuff like that. So,
dude, AOC is so all over the place. I don't even know whether to think this is like a grand plan or if she's just so stupid that this just keeps happening. I'm leaning more towards grand plan just because it keeps fucking happening. But I don't know if it's because I'm trying to imagine AOC coordinating this complicated thing, and I'm like, is it actually her, or is it the Justice Democrats that have like a larger plan in place that are setting all this up for her, or what the fuck is happening with these?
Well, she might just be the face and the name, but I think there's other players probably behind the scenes.
Oh, for sure. Like, nobody really knows much about the Justice Democrats anymore because, I mean, the two main players there got kicked out effectively in a coup
Yeah.
by the management at the time. So, I mean, if it got corrupted, as implying it wasn't from the start, but whatever.
It's a democratic
If it's
institution.
even
Of
worse,
course, it's corrupted.
well, I mean, originally it was like Cenk Uger's pet. It was like his pet project.
Yeah.
So, and him and Kyle's. So, if it was them running it, at least I would believe that they had reasonably good intentions. Because, I mean, they're not perfect people, but they're not evil. They're not actively malicious.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think you can talk to them. That's like my standard.
Well, I mean, Cenk less so without him rampaging like the fucking buffalo he is. But
yeah, he did engage in that debate with like Ben Shapiro, and he talked with
did. That's true.
Tucker Carlson.
That's true.
So
if
at
you
least
give him like 20 fucking months to prepare for the idea of talking
Yeah.
to someone that disagrees with him, he can handle it.
At least he's willing to show up. Like, that's more than you can say for a lot of these people.
That's very true. That's very true. So credit where credit's due. But yeah, with them in charge, at least I could say, all right, well, at least it's not actively corrupt, even if it's not perfect. Without them around, I don't know, man. Like, the first thing the Justice Democrats actually accomplished was putting in one of the most incompetent politicians I've ever seen. With Kyle Kulinski in the background going, no, AOC is great. She's great. Like, what the fuck are you smoking, Kyle? Like, I watched your ass for years. You're making me cry.
Well, in the story I read, it says that AOC and Chakrabarty, her chairman, or what is it, her chief of staff, they obtained majority control of the Justice Democrats PAC in 2017.
AOC did?
Yeah, her and Chakrabarty.
Interesting.
Chief of staff.
Well, that was actually part of the complaint, wasn't it? I didn't realize it was the Justice Democrats PAC that she had control of. I thought it was some other PAC.
Nope, that's the one.
Oh shit.
So
that's a problem.
Right. This says that because she held legal control of the Justice Democrats PAC while the PAC was supporting her campaign, the two committees were likely acting as affiliated committees. I mean, how could they not, right? If she's in charge of one and
you have to consult the owner
about the
other. Yeah.
Even if she doesn't have full control, there's gonna be overlay there because you're one person.
I mean, if she has majority control, she actually does have full control.
Right. Her and
unless she's sharing it with Gabardi. Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
Gabardi, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, or whatever his stupid name is.
Psycat. Such a weird
Psycat,
name.
there you go. I just want to call him Psycat from now on. Okay. He sounds like a Pokemon.
We're on a first name basis with this guy, you know. It's cool.
Yeah, we are. Cool. I mean, he seems like a cool guy.
We're hip.
Like, he fucked up politics a little bit.
He's got a shitload of money.
He does have a shitload of money, and with a name like Psycat, you know he's an awesome friend at a bar. Let's just be real.
And he can buy drinks.
These are horrible jokes. Yeah, I don't know.
So
I want to see more information is really what I want. But
they have majority control of the PAC, and she was running her campaign at the same time. So they both, the PAC and her campaign, would share the individual contribution limit of $2,700. That might have been improperly and repeatedly exceeded, according to the story.
No.
So a former Republican FEC commissioner, Hans von something or other, I can't say that name. He said, quote, "If the facts as alleged are true, and a candidate had control over a PAC that was working to get the candidate elected, then that candidate is potentially in very big trouble, and may have engaged in multiple violations of federal campaign finance laws, including receiving excessive contributions. And
here
so,
comes the left to talk all about campaign finance violation and how important they are and how she needs to be held accountable. Oh, fucking wait.
nope, no one will. So her
Oh my God.
spokesman came out and said that these allegations are politically motivated, which is, the answer for everything. And even if they are, like, does it matter if you broke the law?
I mean, isn't that the whole thing they've been telling us about Trump this whole time?
Well,
Because we've been
yeah.
saying the same thing. Because, I mean, these allegations might be politically motivated. I mean, fucking karma's a bitch.
Well, yeah, and then the story
Saying.
goes on. The story goes on to tell about how she was funneling money to her boyfriend, Riley Roberts, sounds like a winner, through the LLCs. So there was a separate complaint filed by the Coolidge Reagan Foundation that the brand new Congress PAC made two $3,000 payments to Roberts, one in August and one in September of 2017. And I believe in September, he was able to move from Arizona to New York right after these payments were made to be with AOC. Because apparently he lived in Arizona. Which, I mean, that there might be, maybe he's like a badass web designer or something. I don't know. There might be a good reason that they would pay him, maybe. But it does look kind of shady on the front of it. But that one I'm not as worried about.
Just don't look, if you're running a political campaign, don't give money to someone that you're fucking. Just don't. Just don't go there.
Well, we had this this very same problem happen in Oregon, like
I'm sorry?
3 or 4 years ago. We had the same problem happen in Oregon where the governor was sending contracts to his girlfriend
Of course he was.
to work as a consultant, and then he ended up resigning due to that. Oregon's a freaking crazy place, man.
It sounds about right.
So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say about everyone's favorite socialist.
I mean, there's just nothing.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with the complaints and the lawsuits and stuff. So,
yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that she was doing something because if she was owning the PAC at the same time, like that's pretty much. There's not a whole lot more to introduce there. She fucked up, so that is pretty much cut and dried as far as I'm concerned. Everything else, as far as whether or not she actually did anything wrong, is more interesting to me.
Right. So the next story, talking about doing something wrong, a conservative got punched on UC Berkeley campus. News at 11. Nobody's surprised by that, I don't think.
I'm surprised.
But I included it in here because I thought it was interesting, and then this guy whose name I didn't bother to remember, he got invited to CPAC, and he got to speak on stage with President Trump, just as like an example of kind of with his black eye and everything. Did you watch the video of him getting punched?
No, I didn't actually. I missed that one.
Man, he takes a pretty good punch, you know.
Had a good old shiner out of it.
Yeah, and he didn't go down. He just kind of like stands there and just lets the guy kind of punch him and stuff. So good on him for just standing his ground. But
and the self-control, no, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's
so what he was doing on campus is he was recruiting people for the Republican Party, I believe, something like that. So he had like a table out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Totally normal. But the reason he got all the anger was that he had a sign that read "Hate crime hoaxes hurt real victims, referencing to the Jussie Smollett story and the other like hoax hate crimes that we've seen.
I can't help but wonder, like, what is the left's problem with recognizing hoaxes? This is something I've wondered for a long time. Like, even when I was like hard on the left, because back when I was like uber progressive, this is even one thing that I was just like, guys, what are you talking about?
Hoaxes happen.
Hoaxes happen. You can't just believe all of them. You're going to have people like this that recognize that and go, I can use their stupid policy for my own benefit.
Right.
That's the reason why people don't like the whole believe all insert group here narrative. It's very easy to manipulate.
I think the reason that they do this, that they try to make out that there's no hoaxes or anything, is because it pushes the narrative at least a little bit, even if it is a hoax. Because almost always after the hoax, they always say something like to the effect of, well, at least it started the conversation about race or started the conversation about LGBTQ issues or whatever, you know.
I swear to God, these people are...
because
these must be the same idiots that walk into a room and start screaming about how they love sandwiches so much, and they're like, well, at least it started a conversation about how much I love sandwiches. Yeah, but everyone hates you now.
That's Antifa, except they don't love sandwiches and they hate anybody that's not a communist.
Well, I was trying to use like a neutral example, but you get my point.
Antifa.
Like, yeah, but these people just apparently think any mention of their issues is a good idea. And it's like, okay, look, when it comes to social politics, there is actually such a thing as bad PR. Like, if you're trying to sell me something, there's no such thing as bad PR. If you're trying to fucking, well, okay, almost nothing. I'm looking at you, Gillette, you retards. But
never buying Gillette product ever again.
When it comes to something like where you have to be associated with it, I don't know if I'll never buy a Gillette product ever again, but they need to sort their shit around and stop with this weird turnaround thing where it's like, hey, okay, we heard that you guys don't want diversity, so now here's like an Aryan master race commercial.
They
like,
did that?
Jesus Christ, yeah. Kind of, yeah. Like, okay, so the follow-up commercial was just like, the military's awesome. Let me just slob the knob of the veterans right now. Oh, look at these beautiful white babies with the blonde hair and the blue eyes. It's like, oh my God.
Where was the press coverage for that one? I missed that one.
Seriously, it was fucking hilarious. It wasn't as bad as I'm making it sound right now, but like in context with the last commercial, it's like, did you guys just are you guys in your boardroom and you had like a conversation where it was sort of an either or where you couldn't figure out whether or not the country was all like retarded intersectionals or if it was just the alt-right because it's the only people you ever fucking see online, so you guys just think that's the whole country? This is what the normal people think. Either they hate the black people or they love everyone. We can't figure it out.
Well, no, they don't love everyone.
Except white men. Sorry, my bad.
There you go. Thank you.
Men in general. But okay.
Straight men.
Straight white men.
Individualists.
How dare they think for themselves? No.
I think the reason that they are so adamant as like not opposing these hoaxes is one, because it pushes the narrative forward, and then two, if the hoax is legitimately proven as a hoax, if they admit that it is a hoax, it damages the narrative too, because then it leaves it open to be questioned.
It damages it either way, because I mean, like, I think
to regular people it does.
Well, with the whole Jussie Smollett thing, you had regular people on board previous to this with, like, believe all women, believe all victims, believe all this, believe all that. And now you have a whole bunch of people going, okay, well, I trusted you, and you kind of just took a giant stick and shoved it up my ass.
You just shit the bed.
So maybe I shouldn't believe all insert group here. Like, Jussie managed to single-handedly totally fuck the entire, like, left-wing narrative. because it was the one thing that had like all of the momentum behind it. Like everyone in this country knows about Jesse now. Everyone. This is a huge story.
Yeah.
It's been spread far and wide from both sides, for both sides of the coin, for similar reasons, at least at first, where everyone was agreeing, this is a horrible thing that happened. We need to stand up and condemn this. And then it comes out, this doesn't really make any sense. And then we find out, it doesn't make any sense because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
The whole thing's bullshit.
Well, they have to defend it because it goes around so fast, and then people all read the first story, and then how many of them, other than people that are paying attention, will see the follow-up story that says, well, actually, this was a hoax, or
True.
go back and reread the article. The Jesse Smollett is a outlier because he was famous.
Himself.
Right. He was so famous, and he wasn't even like super famous, but he got really famous by doing this, and pretty much destroyed their narrative in the process. Like he sacrificed that victim narrative to get fame. And so
I think if he had actually, at the beginning of this, when everybody was like, is this real though? He had just been like, all right, fine, it was a hoax, whatever, and just like walked away from it. He might have gotten in trouble with the police, but I don't think it would have been this huge story. I think it was honestly the fact that when everybody started questioning it, all of the media piled on, was like, look at these retards not believing Jesse. They're gonna get their humble pie soon. And
it was delicious.
Yes, this was amazing humble pie. This was fantastic. How was yours, fucking mainstream media? How'd you enjoy it? But yeah, like if he had just shut up for a second, like after this all happened, was like, yeah, okay, I did it. Bye. It wouldn't have been a problem.
I think
not with the media anyway. They would have just ignored it. Now they can't.
No, legal. Where he got into real trouble is that him or his friend reported it to the police. I think his friend like called the police and reported it, and then they came out, and then he made the report to the police what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is where he's in trouble legally, and then where they found out that he made false police reports and all that good stuff. Because having two of your friends beat the crap out of you and then saying that you were attacked by MAGA hat guys isn't really illegal. It's lying. It's not true, but it's not illegal.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you're defaming anyone or lying. Your two friends did beat the shit out of you, but
wearing
you
red
asked them
hats.
To, but
they weren't MAGA hats. This is MAGA country.
I love that. Like, at no point did anyone question, like, will anyone actually believe this when they couldn't even find a MAGA hat?
Right? It's like, well, I wonder if this is going to work. They were just so sure. Like they knew. Like they all knew. I'm positive that they understood that the media will play this story because it'll get them clicks and attention and money, and so they'll run with it. It'll get him to be more famous, and he can use that as leverage on his show to get more money.
Why didn't they just order MAGA hats? Like, it's so hard. Like it would take so much effort to just, I don't know, Amazon?
Well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's where I got mine.
Is it?
Yeah,
we're going to be able to trace it if we use it. Amazon.
You can't buy a MAGA. You can't buy a MAGA hat in Portland. Come on. Have to go to Eastern Oregon for that.
Can't touch one either. You're going to get the shit beat out of you immediately.
Oh, I'm going to wear mine for the entire month of May.
Okay.
It's just to see what happens. My social experiment.
Try not to die.
I will try. No guarantees.
Okay. Just bring like a mace or a taser or something, just in case.
Well, I have a gun.
Okay.
Not that I'm promoting that, but the proud owner of a new Ruger.
I mean, sure. You may as well get like a fucking Chris while you're at it. Just make sure when you gut them, it stays bleeding.
No, I'm 100% nonviolent in this. That's part of the rules.
That's why you want a gun. There was a reason I was
No.
suggesting a taser.
Well, that seems kind of violent too. No, I'm not going
mean,
to carry my gun around that much.
okay. But anyway,
Anyway,
um,
so talking about stupid things, Oregon again.
uh-huh.
So Oregon, there's an Oregon PAC called Defend Oregon.
Very
So
creative name. I like it.
right, it's super awesome. So a little bit of background on this story is in Oregon we have vote by mail, which is totally it's fine with me. Like I don't have to go to the polling place. I can vote, a week or so before the election and it gets in totally fine. I'm not so sure that the counting process is the best, but anyway, we have vote by mail, and it is perfectly legal in Oregon to have somebody else collect ballots and turn them in. So this PAC, Defend Oregon, was fined $94,750 when they failed to turn in a box with 97 ballots in it. Right? Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
This should happen. Well, it's been decided that election officials have decided that Defend Oregon made an honest mistake and reached an agreement that $71,025 of the fine would be temporarily suspended. So they only have to pay $23,725. But it's still a lot of money. I mean, for a person, but for a PAC, I don't know. These guys have deep pockets.
Yeah.
But the reason the fine was so high is because the Secretary of State, Dennis Richardson, he said that, or in his view, the harm of not having a ballot counted is more severe than any other violation of election law. Now the problem here is, sadly, Dennis Richardson passed away on the 26th of February. And now all of a sudden, after he died, they're temporarily suspending part of this fine.
Sounds right.
Right. It sounds great, right? So now they must submit procedures for collecting ballots to the Secretary of State's office for approval. And if they commit another violation in the 2020 election, then they have to pay the $71,025. But if they don't, it'll be completely forgiven. So like 3/4 of their fine, their original fine, has pretty much been suspended and will be forgiven.
As long as they don't do it specifically in 2020.
Right. If they do it in 2021, it's no big deal. There'll probably be a Democrat in the Secretary of State office at that point. Well, there'll be one there soon because the governor gets to appoint the next Secretary of State since he passed away while in office. And conspiracy corner, guys. I heard some stuff that there were Democrats, when they found out that he was sick because he had brain cancer, when they found out he was sick, that they registered as Republican. So when he passed away, because he said he wasn't going to step out of office, when he passed away, they would be appointed by the governor to be Secretary of State. Conspiracy theory. Don't have proof.
Okay, I was like, that sounds weird, but all right.
I mean, it's not hard to just change your party registration.
I know, people usually don't.
Well, yeah, regular people don't, but if you're going to be appointed Secretary of State, why not?
I suppose.
So Defend Oregon is connected to Our Oregon, which is a union-based advocacy group. It's active in pushing progressive ballot measures and opposing ballot measures from business-backed groups. So last year they opposed Measure 103, which would have banned taxes on grocery sales and distribution. Right? Who opposes that? So Oregon was trying to pass a law that would ban taxes on groceries, the sale and distribution of groceries.
I don't know if you need to ban taxes. If you want to lower taxes on groceries, that's fine. But even you still want like a small tax to make sure you're getting something from
it. Do you?
I mean, yes, because even if it's just pennies on the dollar.
Well, they're still collecting property tax and income tax.
True.
So
I'm just saying. I'm talking I'm not.
I don't know what
sales tax right now over there must be like what.
Well, Oregon doesn't have sales tax.
Oh.
So that was
right. You're one of those shits. That's right. Okay.
That was why the Republican Party
so
was trying to push for this, because they are talking about on top of property and on top of income tax, they want to do a sales tax too.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
So we decided to try to head that off by saying no, we don't want taxes on grocery sales and distribution. Because it's not that you can't tax the import of groceries or the importation of food, but you can't tax the distribution and the sale of food.
I see.
So they oppose that because they're filthy communists. And they also oppose the states. There was a measure opposing to do away with the state sanctuary law, because we're a sanctuary state, to get rid of that.
Wow.
They opposed that, and then they opposed a measure that would restrict the legislature's ability to raise revenue, which I don't think it doesn't completely get rid of their ability to raise revenue, but anyway, all those ballot measures ended up failing. So they're actually, these PACs and union-based advocacy groups are pretty good at getting their message out.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate how good they are at it.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that, they just had the funeral for our Secretary of State, Dennis Richardson. May he rest in peace. Yesterday, I think. And it's not like his body isn't even cold yet, and they're like, and he was the one that pushed for this bigger fine, and now they're saying, no, you don't have to pay 3/4 of it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was kind of interesting how all that happened.
Speaking of PACs, I do find it interesting. The only time I've ever heard Democrats complain about PACs is either Bernie, back before he became a Democratic shill. Good job on you. And then fucking Elon Omar talking about APAC, and then having Ben Shapiro be like, okay, so the only time you care about PACs is when it's the Jews doing it. Noted.
Well, they have dual loyalty, haven't you heard?
Their dirty Jew money. Oh my god. Oh, that's gonna get clipped out at some point if we ever get big, but whatever.
No one will watch this. It's okay.
That's fair. And someday. We're working on it.
Maybe.
Someday. We're gonna make this shit all shiny. It's gonna be fantastic.
We'll be the best. We'll be the most underrated, best looking live stream on YouTube.
That's fucking right.
Either way, it's fun. I have fun doing this.
Oh yeah.
I don't need to be famous or anything. I'd like us to be successul, but that's not.
I want power and influence.
So
he just ignores me and moves on.
There's a Aladdin genie joke in there somewhere that I'm missing, but
Good.
So, talking about filthy communists, the $15 minimum wage. So Amazon, who owns Whole Foods, introduced a $15 minimum wage to their employees. And now, I bet you can guess, they're cutting their employees' hours. Are you shocked?
I'm actually electrified right now. I actually stuck a fork in an outlet to make sure I could be appropriately shocked.
Can't see, but this is my shocked face.
Oh my
god. So people who are working part-time went from 30 hours to 21, and the full-time employees went from 37 and a half to 34 and a half hours a week. And the person who, I guess, came forward, the whistleblower, let's call them. They were like a department manager in the Whole Foods, at one of the Whole Foods stores. And all the employees had these cuts. And they had shifts that were cut. And he said that because he has access to all the emails, that all of this stuff, all these cuts were a result from guidance from the regional team.
Well, yeah.
And so that kind of
I'm not sure what exactly, because I'm trying to figure out what exactly the complaint is here. Because they're like, okay, so we got $15 up to a minimum, like to a living wage. All right, well, we don't have the budget for it. So we're just going to cut it out over here. And now it's the same as it was before. So what you're saying is I make the same amount of money as I was in less time.
Well, yeah, they have to.
The horror.
They have to work. He said they have to work harder to get everything done in a shorter amount of time.
Well, yeah,
and they end up making the same amount of money. So maybe it is a good idea for some businesses to go to $15
maybe.
You have to get all this stuff done.
Is like the reason they're having to work more is because that's like people don't seem to understand you're being paid. You are to a certain extent, not fully. I mean, I get that people talk about like factory workers and stuff not making wages appropriate for how much they're producing for the company. Okay. I'd be willing to bet most people working at Whole Foods are probably being overpaid based on, what they're actually producing, frankly.
Right.
No offense to them, but you're being paid like
cashier produce other than like, a friendly experience.
I mean, that's valuable too in its own way. But like, is it $30,000 a year valuable? I don't know. That's really for the company to decide and figure out what it's worth. But the people on the left like to pretend that these wages and these numbers just come out of the ether and that there's no logic behind them. There is. It's the fact that you don't actually individually produce that much for the company.
Well, they
just
assume
straight up. Sorry, it's just the way it is.
They assume that. I forget who I heard say this, either Ben Shapiro or Tim Pool or somebody, but what they said was that they assume that these far left progressive activists who want $15 minimum wage, they assume that if a company makes profits, that's just throwing it on the bed and rolling around money for them.
Oh yeah, that was probably more like a Tim Pool point.
Yeah, and so it's not when they make a profit, it's not. They're just not putting it in their pocket. Like the profit is just they made more money than they spent.
Well, the point he actually made was about revenue and people on the left not understanding the nature of revenue and the fact that it's not all profit. B, even what is profit isn't really all profit because, like you said, it goes into savings, it goes into investments, it goes into lots of different things that may produce a profit down the line, but it's not like it's just being paid out, right? It's not like this is all just being put away for bonuses. There's things that these profits, there's a lot of things these profits turn into that aren't just making everyone rich. Some of it is, if they have a good year, some of it will be, but like they can't just dedicate all of that to staff.
The company I work for, I think, made like $9 million last year or something like that. And like one of the person who owns the company, it's like a small family company, and he's one of the family members, so he owns part of it because the The parents are retired now.
Mhm.
He lives down the street from me. Like, he lives in my neighborhood. He doesn't live in a mansion up on the hill because the company that he runs made that much money. And there are mansions up on the hill, like 10 miles down the road from me. They're like $1 million homes. He doesn't live up there. Like, he's not hurting for money. Like, he can support his family and his kids, and they can go on a vacation from now and again. But he's not like uber rich. We live in the same neighborhood. He sees me walking my dogs. It's not like just because that sounds like a lot of money. And yes, to an individual, that is a lot of money. But for the company, that is a good year. But
That's more like a baseline to survive. Not
right.
Yeah.
It's enough to where they can give us a bonus and continue operating, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. I mean, these companies want to keep good employees. And so if they're good employees, they will pay them what they're worth. Because
over time, yeah.
It's not
if
like
they can prove they're good employees.
Right. It's not like I don't know if any of these people who push for like $15 minimum wage have ever worked as supervisors before, not even owned a company, but just worked as a supervisor who has to deal with hiring and firing and training people. If you've ever done that for a month, you'll understand how flaky most people are. It is hard.
And how useless at their job
It is
most
hard.
people are.
Yeah, it is hard to have people just show up. Because when I did it for Target, now granted this is Target, nobody really wants to work at Target. We would hire somebody, they'd show up for the first 3 days, and then they were gone. They would never show up again. And that happened multiple times. And we had 3 people interviewing one person at different times. And they made past all 3 people. They said all the right things, had the right resume, the right experience. And then they would just not show up. I mean, and my wife has that happen in her company too.
Yeah, it's common. Like, it's
people,
common, man.
People promised to foster some dogs for her. 3 different people. So she rescued 3 different dogs because she had fosters who said they would help. All 3 of them backed out. And so now we don't have a place for these dogs.
Well, something that I've realized working as a contractor that I don't think a lot of people that work just normal jobs appreciate is basically an efficiency factor. Like, look, if you're a McDonald's employee and you're making $9 an hour, realistically, could they be paying you somewhere like 12, 13 based on your production? Yes, if they were paying you based on production. But they're not. They're paying you sometimes to stand around. Sometimes they're paying you to be on your lunch break. Sometimes they're paying you to be on your phone because you're not actually producing. They understand, like, part of your wage, part of what goes into that is them accounting for inefficiency and figuring out, okay, we know that these fucks aren't actually going to be doing their job all the time.
Yeah. Those slow times. People are eating hamburgers every day or every minute of every day.
Maybe it's slow. Maybe you're just a little shit and you're riding the clock. Maybe you're just being lazy. Maybe you fucked something up. And like, they can't take it out of your pay, but what they can do is give you less pay in the first place.
Yeah.
So people have to understand that, if you're going to work a normal, wage job that's you got the W-2 and it's maybe has benefits down the line with raises and all these things, that's great. But they're not going to pay you what you're worth, partially because they don't know if you're actually worth anything.
Right. So you have to earn that.
So yeah, you have to earn that. Like, and over time you will. Like, when raises start coming around, you're going to get the big raises. You're going to get like the nice, like, full dollar raises over at these places. That will be you if you actually can work hard and show up and stick to your job. But if you can't, and you're useless, and you're lazy, and you whine a lot, you're proving to your boss that they should not invest in you. The company should not invest in you. So, yeah.
It's common at where I work now. When I first started there, two things happened. One, the supervisor told me, all you need to do well here is to show up on time and don't do drugs. Pass a drug test. And they only drug test us when we get hired, not like all the time. That's all you need to do fine here. And then the guy who was training me said, I'm not going to bother learning your name for a month because I don't think anyone will stick around.
Fair enough. I've had jobs with that.
But yeah, and I told the guy I plan on sticking around, but I'm sure he heard that 1,000 times. Him and I are friends now, so it's not really,
Sure.
I don't hold it against him because I totally understand. And I've been there for 5 years now, and
yeah,
they know that I show up and I work hard and I'm a quick learner and I take on new challenges. And so they moved me into a different position and they paid me more money and give me additional training. And now I am where I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I don't understand this whole we need the government to force these companies into giving us a living wage. It's like, why don't you go earn a living wage? And I understand it's difficult. Yes. But
I mean,
life
honestly,
is difficult.
yeah, but the more I've gotten into working for myself and looking at all these different options I have, it's really not like people are just fucking lazy, honestly.
Yeah.
Look, it's not like it's easy to make a good wage, but if you're just worried about having enough to have a decent apartment and be able to put food on the table and save back a little bit and all these things, okay, yeah, you're going to be busting your ass for a little bit, but look, man, what did you think was going to happen? You're just going to go to your fucking McDonald's job and that you're just going to stay there for the rest of your life, and
you're going to live in a McMansion.
Not even a mansion. People are talking about, oh, well, it needs to be a 1-bedroom apartment. First of all, what the fuck happened to studios?
Right.
Why are we not? Why are we just skipping straight over studios?
Or rent a room.
Yeah, or get a roommate, or all these different things that are totally possible that people just don't even consider. It's like, no, it must be a 1-bedroom apartment. It must have all these things. Yeah, but why though? You're
right.
new to the market. You're going to be broke. It's going to happen for a little bit. It's fine. You will be fine. Quit crying.
Well, yeah, when I was working at Target, I owned my home, but I had 2 roommates because I had a 3-bedroom home, and
I had 5 roommates at one point.
we had a 4th roommate for a while, and he lived on the couch, really. But it was
at one point.
I am thankful that I've never had to be a roommate or rent an apartment because I will admit I had the advantage of owning my own home at a very young age, chiefly because my parents let me live at home when I went to college. And so that is,
hey man, look, I didn't. And I'm I was broke as could be. And you know what? Looking back, I'd say there were some things that were out of my control, but looking at the way things are currently compared to how things were back then, if you're still bitching that you don't have a way to make money between things, there's apps called Field Agent where you can go make money just doing secret shopping. You can do Uber, you can do Lyft, you can do all of these different things. You can do Instacart. All of these different options for how to make money in granular ways, where if you're still sitting around bitching that you can't pay bills, no, you're just lazy.
Is there an app for freelance writers? I'll have to look
Probably.
into that.
Probably, yeah.
I'll look into that then.
The gig economy is getting huge. It's getting professional. It's back then, if you were saying, look, I just don't know how to get all this, together. Okay, because getting granular income options was harder.
Right.
Nowadays, Fuck you.
Now they
No,
have a
this is so
freaking
much
app
easier.
for that.
Yeah, there's like miraculously, there's an app for that. No, there really is an app for that now. I don't care what it is.
Ah,
There's an app for fucking getting a job.
get a
Several
job
different
app.
types of
Just,
jobs. Yeah, no, seriously.
just,
How many different
just
job apps?
ask Alexa.
How many different job apps are there? You literally just sign up, you pass a background check, and guess what? You have a job.
Right? People are looking to pay people to do stuff.
And it's efficient. Like I was talking about efficiency earlier. Guess what? They're paying you on at full efficiency because you get paid to produce.
Right? They're like, we'll pay you X amount of dollars if you can do this, and if you can do that thing in 10 minutes, you just made that much money. Like, I'll pay you $100 to write this thing. Well, if you write that thing in half an hour and it's good and they like it, you just made $100 in 30 minutes. You know, you can make $200 an hour almost.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really good. You have to have talent at some of it, but some of it, like, I'm not putting you down, man, but like being an Uber driver, it doesn't take a ton of talent. It takes some skill, but you can learn the skills.
There's a skill set associated with it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you got to know where you're going and like be friendly and keep a clean car and all that good stuff.
That's not even part of the skill set. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be an Uber driver in the first place. But that's a different conversation entirely.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to. I saw this today. Okay. This thing about Hawaii. The Hawaii Senate hates individual rights, I think was the title of the thing. And I was like, that seems kind of weird. So I read it. So what the Hawaii Senate has done.
Hawaii.
My Oregon accent, man.
It turns you into fucking. What's that? Like, what's the white nationalist dude's name? Jared something. Jared Holt? No, Taylor? It's Jared Taylor. That's it. Turned you into him for a second.
Don't spread that around, man.
Whitey.
Hawaii. Hawaii. So the Hawaii.
Saying shit like him must be fuck. Anyway, what?
The Hawaii Senate, they introduced a measure petitioning U.S. Congress to modify or repeal the Second Amendment. So essentially their grievance is that either way, they either want it removed altogether or clarified so that the right to bear arms is a collective right guaranteed only to the states and not to individual citizens.
Wait, what?
So they make the... I'd have to go to the... They try to make the case that the Constitution guarantees the right to bear arms collectively to the states, the individual states, and not to the individual citizens themselves.
I mean, if you read the text literally, there's an argument to be made, but if you read it in context with the time, it makes no sense. Like, I'm trying to imagine, because I mean, at the time, fucking, they literally asked the founding fathers. Some guy wanted fucking like warships and shit to protect his merchandise. They're like, yeah, whatever. Like,
right.
I'm just saying, if you can have a private warship, something tells me you're allowed to have a Glock, according to the founding fucking fathers. Like, real talk.
Or an AR-15.
Well, they didn't have Glocks back then. Bitch, they had cannons.
Well, the best thing I've heard when someone says, well, they did account on having fully automatic rifles because all they had were muskets. It's like, well, they didn't count for Facebook when they wrote the First Amendment either. So
throw it out. Throw out the First Amendment. Facebook has arrived.
Assault media.
We need to ban assault media.
That is like almost closer to the truth than the other way around. I can't get this thing to load. Oh, there it goes.
Fucking, we need to get rid of the 30-round mags from the assault media.
Man, like, I swear my state is trying to be the most progressive state because they're trying to now remember I told you that they wanted to essentially ban any guns that had a 5 or more that held 5 or more rounds.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that didn't work. And so now they want to outlaw magazines that are over 10. That are over 10.
Look,
So
we just have a big holiday where all we do is we have a big booth with like a downrange thing. You surround the siding with like steel so the bullets can't go anywhere. Maybe a little foam padding so they don't ricochet. And you get a whole bunch of Democrats to come shoot some guns and learn some things about guns. Because I'm really tired of the fucking gun debate with one side of the aisle being people that have used guns their entire lives and know all about them, and the other side being, but they're scary.
that would be awesome.
Fuck's sake.
Because I recently purchased a Security 9 Ruger handgun. It has 15 round magazine in it.
Well, I had to have this conversation earlier, like a little bit ago, with a friend of mine who I'm trying to explain to them that, like, because they're like, well, nobody needs the full auto gun because that's going to just cause a whole bunch of harm. And I'm like, lady, if anyone was trying to like to maximize their death count, they wouldn't be using full auto.
Right.
Who the fuck runs into a crowd with no knowledge, just starts going full up? It's just going to swing up. Let's say you manage to keep it down. Congratulations. The spread is going to be so huge, it's going to be shooting over their heads anyway.
Right.
Or at their feet. Or, like, it's not going to kill anyone. For fuck's sake. That's not even what you'd want to. I hate the full auto section of this debate. Full auto is so fucking useless for civilians. Holy shit.
Even in the military, like, you burst fire for full auto. You don't hold it down and unload the clip. Or generally you don't, but
I mean, even if you did, like, the reason you do those, there's like tactical reasons you execute those maneuvers. It's not just spraying more bullets at them gets more killy-doos. That's not how this works.
Well, that's how it works in Grand Theft Auto.
Fucking more bullets equals more win, right? That's how winning works. Just more bullets.
Right. You just have the most bullets and you win.
That's why ISIS's real problem is they can't manufacture bullets fast enough. Like, that's why they're losing. They don't have enough bullets.
This is why we need the Second Amendment, because we need more bullets.
I mean, really, I just think that we should just take all of America and shoot full auto in the general. That way we win. Just
point it at.
Just point it in the general direction of ISIS and fire. So, for America. So we win.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Don't actually do this. This is terrible advice. Please don't do this. I don't want to get sued. Anyway.
So I pulled up this resolution. It's a Senate concurrent resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to say that some people believe that the Constitution provides right for citizens of the United States to own arms. So this is what they call an individual right theory.
Mm-hmm.
But there's others who contend that the prefatory language of a well-regulated militia indicates that the framers of the United States Constitution intended only to restrict the United States Congress from legislating away a state's right to self-defense and not an individual rights to self-defense.
Yeah, to be fair to anyone that's confused about this particular piece, if there's one section in the Constitution that seems weirdly written, it is the Second Amendment.
Right.
To specify only something about a well-regulated militia, when in actual fact, when you look at the Founding Fathers' actions, they clearly intended it to be individually available.
Well, the militia was the citizens. Like, the citizens are the militia. And if you read the Federalist Papers, they clarify it there too. So like they give their meaning behind the words of this amendment.
Well,
I
sure,
think in
but
the Federalist
I'm
Papers.
sure, but like what I'm saying is, if you just that's why I said if you just read the text, it can be confusing. Because if you
Right.
just read the amendment and haven't read the Federalist Papers, don't know the context of the founding fathers' actual opinions and actual actions, it's very easy to read that as, oh, this was literally just intended for the states to be able to defend themselves against the federal government.
Yeah. Well, they
Which
go on.
is partly true, but not the entire point.
They go on to cite a 1939 United States Supreme Court case that adopted the collective rights approach, which is United States versus Miller, and they determined
Okay.
that the United States Congress could regulate a sawed-off shotgun that had moved in interstate commerce under the National Firearms Act of 1934. So they determined the evidence did not suggest that the shotgun had a reasonable relationship to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia.
I appreciate that they were using the original text, but honestly, the original text is confusing enough that's not actually helpful. Because it also introduces the possibility of them using a different definition of well-regulated militia.
Yeah.
That's kind of my problem with that entire line, is that it's too interpretable for my taste.
Well, they go on. They go on to say that in United States versus Miller, or no, in the District of Columbia versus Heller, that Heller won. He sued the District of Columbia, which had banned handguns, and the court decided in his favor, establishing an individual right for United States citizens to possess firearms, and they struck down the ban as a violation of that right. So they're asking for clarification, but really, I don't want their dirty ass fingers in this shit.
Yeah, screw them. No, like
Well,
anyone that knows
Heller's
anything about the amendment knows what the point is. Like, if
right.
they want some clarifying language, okay, not by you.
Well, the Heller case is more current, which this is why I'm opposed to using like Supreme Court cases as essentially de facto laws, because they're
Or
not.
precedent. Yeah.
Yeah, they're precedents, and so it's not necessary. Like Roe v. Wade made abortion legal. It's like, well, no, it didn't. It just said that you can't not have somebody get an abortion. It didn't make it legal.
Right.
It's just this court decided it that way, and so that's how it is in law. But if the Congress decides to just make it illegal tomorrow, they probably could.
Because as I understand, Roe v. Wade was clarifying a different law and basically saying that it, you know, couldn't be used to justify denying someone, an abortion.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've looked directly at Roe v. Wade.
I'd have to look at it. I've never really looked into it too much.
I did at the time. I don't remember it too clearly now, but yeah, it sounds like you're right that if Congress wanted to, they probably could. I don't think there's the political will for that anymore. But
No, I don't think it's definitely not politically popular.
well, unless Ben Shapiro has something to say, holy shit.
There does, I mean, there does feel to me as a conservative because when I first joined the Republican Party and I went to like one of their meetings, there was an old lady there and she's like, I'm a one issue voter, and if they're not opposed to abortion, then I'm not voting for them. That's the only issue that matters. And I was like, come on, lady. You're just some old lady. Like, but now, like, it feels that there's more of a push to kind of rein in the unlimited abortion, the whole sort of, you can get an abortion whenever you want it, at any time, and the state will pay for it.
Yeah, even if the baby's fucking born. Jesus Christ.
And so I don't think, I think you'd still be hard pressed to find somebody who said like, no, there can never be any abortions ever, never ever for any reason.
Well, yeah, even most conservatives are at least amenable to the idea of, like, even the ones that are pro-choice, I think most of them would say, okay, well, if it just happened, Plan B, they still probably wouldn't be comfortable with it, but they're not going to actively campaign against it.
I'm totally fine with Plan B.
Huh?
I'm totally fine with Plan B.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think most people would be, unless they're like hardcore against abortion at all points. Like, most people are okay with abortion in cases of rape and incest. Like, that's always been a conservative talking point.
Right, and medical reasons.
Medical reasons too. Like, there's lots of different reasons why you could justify it, but once the baby is like forming and basically on the way, that's where you lose a lot of conservatives.
Yeah, like around the. I mean, I guess it depends on where you consider it, I guess, a human life or whatever. But generally, most people, I'd say, around like 23 weeks. Some people 12. Some people conception. You know, I'm not a fan of abortion as birth control personally.
No,
That's kind of my stance. It's like, well, they didn't plan on having a baby and they don't want it and they're so young and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, you don't just get to kill your kid because you don't want it anymore. I don't even believe you should be able to get. I mean, I don't believe people should. I'm not saying that they should be forced to. I don't believe people should give away their dogs because they're moving, much less abort a child because they don't want it.
Yeah.
But, call me old-fashioned, I guess. You take responsibility for your own actions. It's not like that baby just appeared out of nowhere. Like you were just sleeping one night and you woke up pregnant. You know how it happens. We have sex ed almost in all schools now. And if you don't, we have the internet.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's pretty clear at this point that either the left doesn't want any responsibility or they don't think people are capable of having it.
Well, responsibility is a part of the white cis hetero patriarchy.
Yeah, seriously,
you
it's
bigot.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't, because there comes a point where it's like, look, it's you have to take responsibility for fucking something in your life, don't you? And with these people, I'm not sure the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't take responsibility for their finances. They won't take responsibility for their loans. They won't take responsibility for their sex life. They won't take responsibility for their failures. They won't take responsibility for anything. And they're trying to enforce it as policy on other people. It's really frustrating that the most useless members of society are the ones with the loudest voice.
Yeah. Have you been keeping up with what is it? The whole what's going on with Peter Boghossian and Brett Weinstein and all that stuff?
Not actively. What's up?
Well, there's a YouTube channel that he's a documentarian and he's followed Boghossian and Helen Pluckrose and the other guy around, whose name escapes me currently, while they were doing their hoax, their little grievance studies hoax that we all enjoyed so much. And he made a documentary out of that and out of the stuff that happened at Evergreen.
Okay.
He took all the footage from cell phone cameras. Have you ever watched any of that stuff that came out of Evergreen?
I actually watched a lot of the Evergreen stuff. I haven't seen it spliced together into a timeline, but I've seen a lot of it, yeah.
It is super crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't look up. I'll tell you the guys. I wish I knew his YouTube channel. I'd plug it, but
I think my favorite video of that was the video of R2 Dindu. Or it was oh, you know what I'm talking about?
Well, which one, man?
No. The specific one where it was this one guy that I can't remember what he was drawing on the wall, but basically there was this disabled girl in a wheelchair that rolled up and started smacking him, and people layered over that with R2D2 noises.
He was writing not Trump stuff, but just free speech
just something
stuff.
Yeah.
something
just
like
some dumb
that.
message in Charlotte, whatever. But
It's
she got
okay to be
super pissed
white.
off.
No.
Who knows? I don't remember. It's been too long. But yeah,
That
she's
wasn't the
like
funny
really.
part of it.
No, it wasn't. It was the. It was the girl in the wheelchair, like actively trying to bully him because he was too white and male to be writing shit in chalk. So yeah, it's a really weird inversion where it's like the weak are the strong because they're weak. It's really frustrating.
Well, it's because
at least when the fucking strong people are the bullies, they're kind of there for a reason. If you're fucking useless and the bully, what the fuck did you do to get there?
it's because nobody wants to stand up to them.
Well, nobody wants to be seen as punching down. I think that's a lot of what they're manipulating right now. That's a lot of what they're manipulating is that no one wants to be seen as punching down at. I mean, let's be honest. It's not just disabled people because they consider anyone that's not white to be disabled. Effectively, socially, economically, they consider these people to all be fucking disabled.
I wish I could.
They certainly treat them like video.
I'm gonna see if I can find his channel because I want to plug it. But I was watching.
You want to find R2 Dindu?
No, somebody else. Okay. I watched some of it because this guy, he made these YouTube videos and they're really good. Like I would recommend everyone watching it, which is why I'm going to try to find them. But it's just crazy, like how it's like you're white, ergo you are racist, or like I saw several stories this week about, which I didn't include, but there was mostly just like college professors do crazy shit. Like this one white privileged lecturer tells students white people dangerous if they don't see race. And she said that she believes that it is a dangerous white person who sees people as individuals. And so I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad I'm a dangerous white person.
I don't even know what I'm trying to understand what they even think would be dangerous because from the other side of things, all I see is these people racializing everything and forcing everyone to be suspicious of people that don't look like them. Well, this isn't just like this goes every which way. It's so you force people to segregate themselves based on racial lines and form little insular tribes. And if there's one thing that Jordan Peterson is 100% correct on, tribes fight. So the only thing that's going to happen is that we're all going to be separated into segregated communities. It's going to be fucking white Alabama and Blackifornia with fucking Asian York all fighting each other. For what reason? Because you guys can't get along with anyone that doesn't look like you because you're fucking racist? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, so I found his channel. It's his name is Mike Nanya. So Mike Nayna. Nanya. And he did the
clarify, we have not done enough research
part one,
to know
Brett Weinstein, Heather Hang, and what's that?
I said we have not done enough research on this channel to know whether or not this person is a Nazi. If they come out as a Nazi at some point, we accept absolutely no liability. Please, thank you.
This is our disclaimer.
Yes, I'm disclaiming that right now because after the whole PewDiePie thing, I'm just like, apparently you just have to disclaim anytime you plug anyone. May or may not be a Nazi. Watch at your own risk.
Right, he's basically filming James Lindsay is the other guy. James Lindsay, Helen Pluckrose, and Peter Boghossian. Like he was there when they had the James Damore talk. They talk about like their grievance studies papers that they did. And he was filming it while they were doing all of this. And so he's got all that stuff. So if anyone gets a chance, I'd recommend checking this guy out. He does pretty good work, and it's like just watching these videos, it's angering. Like I don't know, like Like I watched this, and then there was something here in Portland where the college Republicans at Portland State were hosting this guy who got in trouble, gosh, like 4 years ago because he was filming Antifa, and they started surrounding him and doing their regular Antifa thing, and he pulled out a gun and pointed it at them, and he ended up getting arrested and going to jail and having to pay fines, and got convicted of like 12 felonies or something super ridiculous.
Jesus.
He didn't shoot anybody. He didn't pull the trigger. Like they were. If you've ever been around Antifa, or if you ever watch the videos, you know how threatening at times.
Yeah. Yeah, straight up. Fucking Antifa. The second things get scary, immediately running to the cops.
In there to tell his story. And this has been years, so all the legal stuff I think is behind him.
Good.
But they had I think he got convicted. That he's just out of jail now. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But they had like an Antifa protester guy. Basically, he just took like a cowbell and was just ringing it in the talk the whole time. And then he would stand in front of the projector, and the police and campus security were standing there and just watching this guy do this. It's like there's nothing they can do. Like to me that's the biggest thing. And Andy Ngo posted a bunch of stuff on Twitter about it too and talked about it. So if people want to go find it, they can. But to me, that's one of the biggest things, is that they will disrupt. Like this group is trying to have a meeting or listen to a speaker, and this other individual or group comes in and makes so much noise that they're unable to do what they were trying to do. And the police won't do anything to do about it. And so what do? Like, if you can't appeal to the legitimate authority, then the legitimate authority is no longer legitimate or no longer has authority.
Yeah.
And so who does at that point? Well,
private security.
Authority gets divested back into the people. So do we have the authority to remove these people or to do something about it? Well, if we touch them, then the authority, the quote unquote legitimate quote unquote authority, will come down on the people trying to get rid of these guys, because you're going to have to use force to do it. I'm not saying like beat the shit out of them, but just like try to move them out of the room at least.
I mean,
so
dude,
is that
frankly,
that's a corruption?
If it's a private fucking event and they're trying to remove you, I don't give a shit if they have to punch you a couple of times.
Well, I don't either, but the media will.
Like, honestly, it's really tiring when you're dealing with all of these problems and everyone's worried about like media attention.
Right.
Dude, it should be normal. It should be normal that if you're fucking in the middle of an event and you're sitting there with a megahorn blasting bullshit, for the security to tackle your ass and throw you physically out of the building.
Should be, but it's not.
Like, holy shit. When did we turn into such goddamn pussies? That's exactly what would have happened when I was a kid. Back in the 90s, nobody put up with this shit.
Well, your fucking mom would have been the one tackling you and kicking your ass.
I mean, yeah, probably. Realistically speaking. Honestly.
Yeah, my mom probably would.
But seriously, like, nobody put up with that shit back then. Like, what the fuck happened? Dude, security, go secure. It's in your title.
I think this event, and I think these events, since they're open to the public, these people can go. So I don't think you can exclude them necessarily.
Unless they start making a shitload of noise.
But, well, I went to the Jordan Peterson event when he was here in Portland. And they did say before the event, if you disrupt, you will be escorted out. And statement alone practically got a standing ovation.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm totally honestly, I think they should just make the aisles a little bit wider to make sure that huge burly men with batons can crack you over the head easily if you start causing a problem.
Yeah, I just see these. It's these people who bring like noisemakers and they just keep talking over other people so they can't have a conversation or carry on with their own business. Like the freedom for association goes both ways.
Yeah.
So if I want to associate with these people and talk to them, I can, but they also have to want to associate with me. If nobody wants to associate with you, you should have to leave.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think another thing they should be doing is if someone asks for the microphone, say no.
Well, yeah, never give them the microphone.
Never hand over the microphone. These fucking idiots always sit there and be like, "No, I'm not giving you the microphone until I've asked all my questions."
Well, one thing you said is that what did you say? You said that
I say many things.
many wise and profound things. You said something, and I had like an addition or a comment to it, but I don't remember what you said, and now I'm brain farting. We must be getting close to 2 hours.
It's getting there, yeah.
It was. Oh, what was I gonna say? It'll come back to me.
Okay.
It's just that. Oh, you said that the media, like, you said something like about people who are so afraid of the media and just kind of being cowardly and stuff. That is a conversation that I've had a lot recently where, and I am personally like very sick of it. It's when you say, well, let's like, you're talking to your friends and you want to, or if you want to do something political or, do something activist-y, I guess, get a bunch of people together and wear MAGA hats, let's just say, for instance. And people will say, normally I would do that, but I don't want to get beat up. Or they'll
Yeah.
say, I don't want to get fired. Or they'll say, no, I don't think we should do that. It might look bad. It's like the whole, like, we need to stop worrying about looking bad so much, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we need to do bad things or be bad people. And we should definitely not, do bad stuff if we can avoid it.
I'll be willing to speak your mind.
Right, but have the courage to exercise freedom of speech because it's not a safe thing to do. It's not. And this whole, what is it? What did it, somebody else? I think when the Liberalists started, there was a lot of conversation around, oh, we gotta PR, we gotta make sure we don't get a bad image, we don't want to get a bad reputation and stuff like that. And then there were other people who were like, you guys are just a bunch of PR cucks, which didn't really sit right with me either.
Yeah,
But
I mean, there's a healthy balance there.
I kind of get the criticism. It's like you can't constantly be so worried about your image or like what other people are going to think about you if you're worried so much about, like, that's what I hate about virtue signaling so much. Is because that's all that is. It's they don't really have virtue, but they're trying to show everybody how amazing and great they are so you don't see their flaws and see them as a human being. It's like, we're all human. You have flaws just like I do. You're a dick sometimes, maybe before you've had your coffee. I know I'm grouchy in the morning. We all have bad days.
Right.
We all suffer. We all do things we know are wrong sometimes. Either in the heat of the moment or we're just mad or whatever. It's just
Unless
part of
you're
the
AOC, in which case you're perfect.
part of the human experience. So, speaking of the human experience, did you want to? You watched this video with Tim Pool and
Yes, I did.
Jack.
Um,
And
The conversation with Jack was actually very interesting with Tim Pool, because what actually happened was it was a lot of Tim Pool getting interrupted by the trust and safety advisor, or the head of the trust and safety team that Jack brought with him, because he doesn't necessarily know all the details of what's going on Twitter. That's why he has managers, right?
Right.
And she was the relevant manager for this. So it was a lot of him being interrupted by her, and then him finally getting to speak and making a lot of points. But it was interesting to hear them talk about it, because it really kind of revealed that they don't seem to understand that there is a left-wing bias necessarily. They know there's a perception of it, but they don't seem to understand, A, that there's a left-wing bias, B, how it affects them, C, how it manifests on the platforms. Like, they don't understand any of it. They genuinely don't. It was really weird talking to them, because it's like, maybe it's just because we're on the outside looking in that it's so fucking obvious that these companies have these biases. Because I think each company is viewing itself as like an independent organization that's just, it's doing the things it thinks is right, which is fine. But when you're an outsider looking in, it's a whole bunch of tech giants all coming from one area, all doing the same thing, and all of it's shit. So yeah, I guess it's just an insider-outsider perspective thing going on. But they genuinely didn't seem to understand. They seemed to have a much better idea of what was going on after Tim explained it to them, mostly, even though he had a really hard time explaining to her that you do have an ideological bias. It is written into your rules. And if you don't understand that, you're fucked. Seriously. And Tim still very clearly thinks Twitter's fucked based on his latest videos. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting, personally. And I recommend anyone listening to this, go watch it. But honestly, there's not a whole lot to say about it, just because, like, I watched it, and it was more of a, just sort of a thought that I had about it, that I thought it was fascinating that none of these people seem to understand their bias at all.
Well, yeah, sorry, my microphone was on mute for a bit.
No, you're good.
I saw a little bit of it, but I didn't get to watch all of it, and I didn't get to listen to very much. But it was interesting about, like, Tim was trying to make his case, and then they just seemed like to dismiss it, kind of, or they were like they were trying to.
Definitely did. Jack less so, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I don't think Jack is necessarily the right, I guess, target for people's anger.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure any of the CEOs necessarily would be, because, again, they seem to be viewing their organization as independent organizations, completely separate from these other things. Even though, when it comes to the outcome, it's very clearly, there's definitely been some impact, because all of you managed to come to the same stupid conclusion.
Well, what were they were talking about, I think Tim asked them, do they partner with the SPLC?
Which, according to them, they don't.
Yeah, but, like, we know other tech companies do.
Yes, true.
And the part that Tim, I've heard this in his other videos, the parts that freak him out the most and that nobody seems to be talking about is that people like PayPal and MasterCard and Visa are saying, these people, you can't, pay, you have to take these people off your platforms or else we're backing out, like these payment companies. There was even a story where I think he was the leader of the Proud Boys. He got his bank account shut down.
Oh, yeah. Chase Bank.
Yeah. Like,
and with the Chase Bank account, feel free to close it and move your business elsewhere, because, like, that's unacceptable. I'm sorry. That's unacceptable.
Well, sometimes with these stories, my initial thought, if it's on the right or the left, my initial thought is, okay, are they just using this sort of outrage culture to hide something else that they did? That's my initial thought with all these stories.
Maybe, but like once we start talking about bank accounts, I'm much less sympathetic to context. Because, I mean, realistically speaking, you want to know who else has a bank account? Fucking R. Kelly after he peed on those girls. Rapists have bank accounts. Fucking murderers have bank accounts. Pedophiles have bank accounts.
Well, I'm wondering, it doesn't have to be that they closed his bank account because he's a Proud Boy or something. Like, I was thinking maybe Chase closed his account because he had overdrafted and never paid it back or something. Like, and then he's just saying, "Oh, they closed my account because I'm a Proud Boy," and then that goes around, and so that becomes the narrative.
True. I mean, it could be. We'll find out sooner or later. But
that's always my initial thought whenever I hear these stories.
It's probably a healthy instinct, honestly.
Because for me, like, if something happens to me, something bad, like something like I don't know, a car accident, say I get in a car accident, my first instinct isn't to post it to social media.
Yeah.
But I do know people who that is their first instinct. They're probably on social media when it happens.
I think we all know someone like that.
Yeah. That's just me, you know, like, and I'm not saying, like, that's my initial instinct, is to have like a skepticism, like maybe they're using this as a cover to try to gain sympathy because they did something and they're embarrassed about it. Yeah, they did something, a number of reasons.
True. Hoaxes have all kinds of motivations.
But I think this has happened, these sort of attacks, if you will, are on people that are right wing. It's not just like these are just the far right people. There's moderate right wing people. There's the Proud Boy guy. I think he's like half black, half Cuban or something like that. So it's not like
Cuban is what it's called.
Yeah, he's not some rich white guy, you know, who's got like 18 bank accounts. I don't think he's poor either. I think he does pretty well, but
probably.
We see all these attacks. We see enough of them that there's a pattern that's starting to develop. Absolutely. And I know
a very obvious pattern.
Did you ever see the Breitbart story? And I know it's Breitbart. I don't really like using Breitbart as a source, but they compiled a list of like over like 200 or 400 incidences where conservatives or Republicans were attacked or beat up since.
I thought it was over 600 actually, but
could
be growing. I have. Well, I mean, they stopped updating it a couple of years ago, actually. But so this is
like
it's like an old story, but it was very relevant at the time.
I read through the list, and I read the stories that they linked to, and it was stuff like the Republican county office in Arizona got firebombed twice or something like that. It was something super ridiculous that if it happened to that happened to a Planned Parenthood, could you imagine how much media attention that would get? Or if it happened to a Democrat office, how much media attention that would get?
Seriously.
Like I never heard of that story. Like that seems like something, and I pay attention to news and politics and stuff. I'm in the Republican Party. Yeah. We just got an office in my county, and I'm like, this is something that maybe I should have known about.
Well, probably, yeah. And unless someone dies, like there's no way the left-wing media is going to actually cover it. Even if they do, they still might not.
Right. They would just be like, oh, some Nazi died, no big deal.
Yeah. Seriously. But I do think it's time for us to start wrapping up because it's about to hit the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, it's the slow down at 2 hours marks. Yeah,
Seriously.
We covered all the stories I wanted to cover, and we got to talk a little bit about the Jack Conte or Jack Dorsey. I always get those. One of the Jacks. One of the
Jack
authoritarian.
talk about them. No, actually, I like some of the things that Jack had to say on this one.
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
But yeah, I think with that we can probably wrap up.
Yeah, next week I hope we'll have a little bit of an upgrade in visual appearance for you guys.
Yeah. It's gonna be fantastic.
So bring your friends, tell people about us. I think we're at 43 subscribers right now. Let's if you tell a friend and then they tell 2 friends, and yeah, that's how this thing works. So thank you guys for listening to us yammer on. We hope we could at least be entertaining to you. Someday we will reach what's his name? The frogs are turning gay guy. What's his name?
Alex Jones?
Alex Jones, yes. You know it's been freaking too long if I can't remember Alex Jones. We'll reach Alex Jones levels of entertainment at some point.
We're going to be a ubiquitous household name at some point? All right.
Yes, eventually.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But thank you guys for sticking with us, for tuning in, listening, taking part in the live chat. And we will see you guys next Thursday at 7.
Peace.
Later, guys. Bye.